Welcome to CineCynics.
I'm Mark,
And I'm Craig.
and this is the movie review show where we ask that age-old question: haven't we seen this all before?
And now it's time for Dailies, where we talk about the biggest stories in movie news.
This isn't exactly a breaking headline, but it's an ongoing developing story, and I think pretty much the biggest one in movie news today. George Lucas has sold Lucasfilm to Disney for the sum of $4.05 billion. And furthermore, the long-rumored sequels to the original Star Wars trilogy, Episodes 7, 8, and 9, are now apparently in development.
And the treatment has already been written for the first one. Written by the man that did Toy Story 3, and that's the only one I remember right now. Well, a lot of the cast is rumored to want to come back.
Yes, they all said that they would be willing to participate. There's no official news yet if any of them have actually been offered any parts, but they're, the eagerness that they're showing to be part of the project is very, very exciting. I think it should also be said that I really applaud George Lucas for making this move to finally understand that it's now time for him to relinquish control of his property to younger filmmakers who might now be better suited to the task of taking on the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. I, for one, am super excited about this. I have wanted there to be an expanded universe movie since I played the video game Jedi Knight. I think that's pretty much, I really wanted to see a movie that took place after Return of the Jedi. But it's not going to be based on any previous work, so it's going to be a completely new story, completely original.
So there's no chance of any Kyle
like Timothy Zahn, which made a very good three-book series based off the expanded universe. No go on that.
No Knights of the Old Republic, no Jedi Knight, Kyle Katarn movie. Although I'm not sure what they're going to do after 7, 8, 9 because their plan is apparently to continue making movies afterwards, so I'd be interested to see.
And if it's put into people who appreciate and grew up with it, I think it will turn into something that people will appreciate and love as well because of that. This is really good news for the Star Wars franchise. I'm thinking Brad Bird should direct. He has a really close relationship with Disney because of all the Pixar. He did Iron Giant. He did The Incredibles with Pixar, and he did the latest Mission Impossible movie, which was a really, really good action movie. And just the epic action set pieces would be very well suited in a Star Wars movie, considering that it's supposed to be an epic saga and space opera.
I mean, I actually personally having a tough time really thinking about who I'd want to actually direct the movies, but I've really been thinking that, I mean, I know that they already have someone who currently submitted a 30-page treatment, but I would really love to see the involvement of Lawrence Kasdan.
Well, yes, from the originals.
Apart from, Lucas himself and so many other people who had hands in crafting the original series, some of the major plot points in the way that the original movies turned out, that's completely owed to Kasdan, and I would like to see his handprint again in the crafting of the sequels.
That would be nice, but it's probably not going to happen because they want to appeal to a new audience of people. That's like the more, I mean, they're also talking about getting J.J. Abrams to do it, which I don't think is a good idea because we don't need fucking lens flares in a Star Wars movie, even though I like J.J. Abrams. But I don't want to see lens flares
and
everywhere.
The fact that all the close-up action that he's shot, is very...
very jittery. It's like Bourne Identity, but 10 times worse. It's like a frantic ADD child who can't keep it.
Bourne Identity on myth. I think it's kind of been overshadowed, some of the other implications of Disney buying Lucasfilm, and that is they also control Indiana Jones as well.
We'll get a better movie that is supposed to be Indiana Jones instead of making him just look like a tired old man.
Also, Disney now controls Willow. I've never made it a secret how much I really love Willow. Make a sequel to Willow. And just one other quick thing. Despite all the rancor,
No pun intended.
yes, no pun intended, over the last 10 years, considering his controversial choices in crafting the new trilogy, I would like just to say thank you, George
Yes,
Lucas.
thank you. Before we killed you.
Because after all, I mean, if it were not for you, there wouldn't be Star Wars.
No, there wouldn't.
And the fact of the matter is, the only reason that we can now get excited for new Star Wars movies
Is because of what you gave to those people that are going to be creating it now.
You gave them
Yeah.
the legacy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And some other news that we have is Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be coming back for Conan. He's going to be an old king, emperor. I forgot what the plot was.
I'm so happy that this is getting made.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Because there is no one else fit to wear the bejeweled crown of Aquilonia upon his troubled brow. And now, watch it. Because if you haven't seen it before, watch it. Get it? Following along with today's review of Skyfall, the film I'm going to recommend on this edition of Watch It is From Russia with Love, starring the inimitable Sean Connery in what many consider to be his defining performance as Ian Fleming's James Bond Agent 007. In this second entry in the series, James Bond is sent to Istanbul to aid in the defection of Tatiana Romanova, a clerk in the Soviet consulate infatuated with 007 after having come across his dossier in her work, and who has now promised to deliver up a Lecter, the new Russian encoding device, in exchange for her freedom and a chance at meeting the legendary agent. Unbeknown to either of them, Romanova is actually an unwitting pawn of Spectre, the evil organization first introduced in the previous film Dr. No, who are now seeking revenge on Bond and plan to steal the Lecter for themselves. There are few praises I can sing about this film that have not been sung before, but let me hasten to add that it's all true. This truly is a remarkable film. It was also the first to introduce some of the series' landmarks, such as the use of gadgets by Bond and the first appearance of Desmond Llewellyn as Q, MI6's armorer and tech wizard extraordinaire. Goldfinger is the movie most often attributed to having raised the bar for the franchise cinematically, but I think that it's From Russia with Love that raised the bar narratively in terms of its scope and storytelling. Its intricate, tightly woven plot and breathless action set pieces set the stage not only for every following Bond movie, but for virtually every spy thriller since its release 50 years ago.
And in keeping with the spy thriller theme with our review of Skyfall, I'm going to recommend The 39 Steps, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. The 39 Steps is a British spy thriller about a man who's thrown into a world of espionage after being framed for the murder of a beautiful spy. He then goes on the run to clear his name, while trying to stop military secrets from being stolen. The 39 Steps has a perfect mixture of thrill and action and just very, very well-written dialogue between the characters in the movie. This movie is falls into one of his many themes that he has throughout a lot of his films, is an ordinary man thrown into an extraordinary situation. The cops being inept, which he just hates cops, so it's kind of one of his things. The way it's shot, the angles he uses, it just speaks Hitchcock. Hitchcock is often imitated, but never improved upon.
The 23rd entry in the James Bond movie franchise stars Daniel Craig in his third outing as James Bond and sees the return of Judi Dench as M, the head of MI6. It also stars Ralph Fiennes and Javier Bardem. After a highly sensitive list detailing the identity of NATO operatives embedded in terrorist organizations is stolen, MI6 headquarters comes under attack, and it seems that certain sins committed by M in her past are now being visited upon her in the present. Alright, so we just saw this movie hours ago. What are your first impressions?
My first impressions are that it was actually a very good James Bond movie. And I have to appreciate the little bits and pieces that they put like an homage to previous James Bond movies. They definitely stepped it up and were not taking too serious of a tone with this movie, and that's I think the James Bond franchise needs to go back to that style of movie. It doesn't have to be a serious movie.
I also enjoyed it quite a bit. I do agree. It seems like they're taking things backwards to to what's been established over the the previous 50-year history. I think that's actually been kind of a problem that we've seen in Craig's earlier movies like Casino Royale or even Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. Well, let's have a horse race. Cut in between a big chase scene, and let's be all fancy.
And it seems like with those previous two movies, in attempting to get it back, to be more tonally correct with Fleming's novels, where they made Bond into this like very dour, morose character. And I mean, not to say that that's completely inaccurate, but they took it to such an extent where these movies didn't really seem like they were being fun anymore. It's certainly one of the most atmospheric of any of the Bond pictures, and it starts off very gloomy.
But it was very beautifully shot.
Yes, definitely. I mean, and that's all due to the choice of Sam Mendes as director. I thought that was a particularly inspired choice. And you might not necessarily make this connection, but after I saw Road to Perdition, which incidentally also stars Daniel Craig, though in a much different kind of role, the thing that kept coming to mind really was Bond. It kept striking me Mendes would make an excellent director for Bond. There was themes in Skyfall that I appreciated them touching on, like we're in this very high-tech age where intelligence and spy work is done on computers and in this in cyberspace. Whether a veteran field man like Bond is still relevant, and even the whole organization of MI6, and how decisions that one makes in the past can have consequences in the future. It started off very much like the previous two in this rebooted Bond franchise, where it was very kind of serious in tone, and there's a lot of gloom. But by the third act, all of those fears completely wiped away. The whole third act, I think, was basically the biggest homage you could possibly have to the entire, to the great action heritage of the rest of the series.
The small moment in the beginning chase scene, which is probably been in the trailers and everything else on TV, but the little thing when he jumps down into the train and he just goes like this and fixes cufflink, that that was like that was the perfect Bond action moment. Just how he even takes this small moment for sophistication.
They really made a big effort to, and not just the bigger things, but even the smaller details to bring back, the franchise elements and really just what makes Bond Bond.
Especially the music. Adele did a perfect job of making a great Bond theme song. It harkened back to the Sean Connery movies, I think.
Yes, the theme song definitely sounded more Bondian than a lot of the theme songs.
Two people singing it at once, and it being a terrible
with absolutely no harmony. There was a lot of times in this movie they kept repeating this whole idea about sometimes, in context to the movie, talking specifically about espionage, but how sometimes the old ways are better than the new ways. And in fact, I think the movie as a whole could almost be taken as a metaphor for them saying we're sorry, or we're really bringing things back
to where it should be. I'm tired of the dark angsty Bond.
Yeah.
Glad they got back to old school.
And there are parts of that in the beginning of this film, and that does touch upon the Fleming's Bond. He talks about Bond getting bored or feeling dull and having certain conflictions, but I think they took it to an extent that really was not healthy for the character, to a point where it started being inauthentic to the source material. I had a conversation recently with with someone that I know who's also a big fan of the Bond series. He said, when you watch Bond, you're supposed to look at the screen and say, I want to be Bond, not sit there thinking, wow, his life sucks. Skyfall is easily the best of all the Daniel Craig Bond pictures, and most definitely rank in the very best of the series.
I definitely recommend this if you're a true Bond lover and appreciate all the older movies. You should definitely go see this.